Hi, welcome to the Andrew Buckle video tutorial on Illustrator and image brushes. Now I'm using 221. It could be okay in quite a few early versions. I think it came in quite a few years ago, so you should be able to use it in most, certainly up to a reasonable point. So let's get on with it. Image brushes. Well, what is it? Well, it's a brush, so something like a vector brush, the scatter brush, or the art brush, but with an image inside. So you can add all kinds of images, faces, text, whatever. In this case, I've got a sort of painted effect. So I'm just going to remove that design. And I'm also going to remove this one as well because it just throws me having that. That's one of the designs I created during the time. Now, there's a number of image brushes that come with the Illustrator. 10, that's it. And you can find them via the brushes. Now, can't find this panel. Go to Window and Brushes and Properties. They're the useful ones. Brushes, right side, go there. Open brush library, and you've got image brush, and you've got image brush there. You've got 10. But you can add your own. So I'm just going to add 1 or 2. You can see some scatter brushes that I've added, and now I'm just going to add. Now I'm going to do it on a completely separate document. This is an image. This one is from graphicextras.com, my website, and it's image-10.jpg. You can download it if you want to download it from there. So I'm just going to copy it and then paste it into the other document because I'm going to go back to it later. And what I'm going to do then, I'm just going to quickly create an ellipse. Ellipse is a nice shape for a brush, I think. Doesn't have to be, but I'm just going to select that. And I'm just going to select an area there which looks quite interesting. I could do it anyway, but I'm just selecting that. And I'm selecting both. So I've got the ellipse, got this selected, the image selected, and I'm just going to go to Object and Clipping Mask and Make. Now you think at this point you could create a brush because you can go over here, right side, new brush. Doesn't work, I don't think. Doesn't work for me anyway. So it might work for you. So, but what you need to do, you need to go to Object and then go down to, I'm just going to go down to Rasterize. Sorry, I was just distracted for a few seconds. I suddenly noticed something flash up and always have notifications suddenly appear and you think, oh, okay, Rasterize. Now, what you can do, transparent is the key thing. I've got 300 there. Also, anti-aliasing I've set to super sampling. I'm not certain what the difference is, but I'm just going to go for that anyway. And transparent is the key thing, unless you want white as a background, which doesn't look very good. Click OK. And now you've got this rasterized design. What you can then do, you can add it to the brushes. So go to the right side menu of the brushes panel. That's the key thing, not any others. New brush. And I'm going to go for art brush first time. Scatter brush, slightly different. There is a slight difference. You don't need to do the rasterization. It seems, weirdly. I'm not certain why, but it doesn't seem to have the same problem. So click OK. Now, always make certain it actually saves it and creates it. Because I have found a few times doing running through these tutorials, pre-runs of this, that it doesn't. Suddenly just, you think you've created, you click OK, and I know I've clicked OK, and it doesn't save it, which is very odd. Now I'm going to go for the defaults. There's a number of pressure things, and I'm not going to go for those. Never do, actually. I've never, ever particularly used it. It's quite possible that pressure, all these sort of things work. I don't know. But I'm just going to go with fix. I'm perfectly happy with fix because what I usually do is I use it with the good old width profile. Now stretch to fit stroke length, reasonable. This doesn't work. Colorization doesn't work for me anyway. You might find it does, but so you can always, if you want to colorize it, you can always, of course, add maybe appearance and add a sort of a fill on top as well. If you want to do that, you can then change blending modes, etc. So click OK. So then you've got the design here. You can see it is stored away. Now there's a number of tools you can obviously use with this, but what I'm going to do, obviously initially, it's the obvious one, is the brush. So let's go for the brush. And you can see right there. Now you can, once you've got that, you can see it's the image brush that's there. But I can change it. I can always double click on that and I can tweak it. I'm not going to do anything, but you could, if you wanted to, change some of the size settings and all those sort of things. You can also go to properties and you can go there and you can see the stroke is 1 point. You can make it 3 point. The bigger it gets, the slower it gets. So I generally keep it at the 1, perfectly reasonable, and you can change the opacities and all those sort of things. You can also go to stroke, and you also go down the bottom. Now, dashed lines, I haven't tried that yet, so yep, it works with dashed lines. Actually creates quite an interesting effect, isn't it? That's very nice. So if you want to do that, it does create quite. But anyway, that wasn't what I was intending. I just suddenly sort of thought, oh, dashed lines. I haven't run through that during any of my trial runs. So what you can also do, and this is more useful for me, is width profile. And you can select the width profile so you can see it changes. And also, once you've done that, you can also go over here to the width tool. And then you can hover over there and you can just say, just change bits of it. You can resize that, shrink that down. You can see you can vary the brush in a number of different ways just by using. And you can find tutorials on the width profile, width tool on the Graphic Extras channel. And you can see you can get wholly different designs using that. That's why I don't bother with the pressure, to be honest. I often just use width profile, width tool. I find it easy to control the end result because I know what the sort of general design I want. So I can quickly, instead of trying it with pressure, which is actually quite hard, I find the width profile is a lot easier to control it. And also what you can do, just remove that. You can also use, say, like a circle. You can use any other shape as well, of course. And you can go to brushes, apply that brush to there. And you can see design. And you can use the width there as well with this as well. So just go over there, width, and then you can simply hover over there and just change that. So you can tweak it to get the design exactly in the way that you want. So if you want a very thin part there, or you want it to be bigger there, or you want it to be thinner there, you can create like bulbous shapes all the way around to create some very interesting designs and much, much more. Now, so that's the art brush. And of course you can duplicate that design. You can also go to effect and you can do stylized drop shadow and those sort of things as well. So if you want to add some, and then of course you can always go to your paintbrush tool and then add additional, and that will of course now have the very odd width profile on there as well as the of course shadow effect. Just going to remove that now. So what you can then do, you can now create scatter ones as well. So scatter ones, well, I'm just going to create a very simple shape, just a circle. I love circles, so easy. Simply create a circle, and you can create multiple copies of this circle. But of course, what I want is to fill it with something. So I'm going to go to the image, even more useful. So there's the image again, copy it, and now create a circle. Do it in the right order, otherwise it's not going to be. Of course, you can always create a circle, and then you can always rearrange it to go on top. Quite often, I often do that. I create something, I think, okay, next thing, I've actually got to have the image. Very helpful. So now here's the circle actually added onto this. So there's the circle. Now you can put it anywhere. And I'm just going to go with that. Very basic circle on top of an image again. And of course it could be any shape. It doesn't have to be a circle. It could be any type of design. Now object and clipping mask, make. And what you can do then, you can duplicate it, hold down the Alt or Option key. So you can duplicate, create multiple entries, because I think just one is, you can create a scatter brush with obviously one, but you can create more complex designs. And also if you want, you can always go and add effects. So effect, again, my favourite, drop shadow. You can add, obviously, do other things as well. But there, I've got a design there. You could add blurs and things as well, if you want to do that. Now what you can do, you can go over here, new brush, and scatter brush, click OK, and you see this time it creates it. You don't have to go through the rigmarole of rasterize. Very odd, but you can also modify other settings here as well. All those sort of things. Again, colours completely useless, but if you want to, you can change the spacing, and most of the time I often do, because quite often the default means that you only end up with one like entry. So quite often spacing, just reduce that down. I always like it to keep it down to about 10, so I get a lot of entries. Scattering, it's fine, but if you change it to anything in your it always seems to put it further out than the artboard itself. So it's probably best just to go with that, and you can modify the size if you want. Just going to click that. So now, you see it's up there. There's the Scatter Brush 3, very original name. And what I can do exactly the same as before, I'm just going to select a circle, and I can just click on there, and you can see your design there. Just apply, and again, you can obviously modify this setting. You go, now you can't go here and use the width tool. It's a pity, but you can modify the shape, of course, so you don't have to have a circle, of course. You've got the curvature tool, you can modify that, so that will change, but you can't control this setting using the width tool. So if you try it, go there, the width tool, and you hover over there, it doesn't let you do anything. So just pointed that out. Now I'm going to go to the paintbrush, and I'm going to apply a paintbrush there. You can see the paintbrush design there. And again, can't go over here, which would be nice if you could, width tool. And again, it's not available with the scatter brush. Don't know why, but that's the way they've designed it. So you can see the brush, and of course you can always tweak it, change it by going over here to the brushes again, double clicking, and then you can resize. Got preview, put preview on. You can see that it's always best to put preview on. Why it doesn't default to preview on, I do not know, but sometimes, of course, I suppose it slows things down, so it's best probably not to. And you can set, obviously, other things. Now, you know, random, you can set, obviously, a size, so you can get a really big size there, if you want to create some and lots of other things as well, if you want to do those. And you can also, obviously, modify spacing, scatter, etc. Like I say, if you put scatter in, you can vary that a bit as well. I always find I keep it generally at 0. And you can also, of course, random rotation, set random range, so it sort of rotates, and you can fill the entire document with a single brush stroke if that's what you want. So click apply, apply to stroke. So that's it as far as I think. There's probably some more things. Of course, what you can do with the result, of course, is you can always put these into, maybe use it as a symbol, maybe copy it over into your CC library and use it as a good old something in Photoshop. Now, I'm just going to, before I finish, and I haven't tried this, so maybe it will not work. And I'm just going to go there, and I don't want that one. I'm just going to use this one. And then, of course, what you can do with this image here, and I'm going to use, and this is only in 221. So if you've got 221, just going to go to Object, Pattern, I won't repeat. Pattern's useful as well. You can actually, but however, Radial. I love this feature. This is really good. Repeat and Radial. That's in the Object menu, and you can see you've got the design there, and you can, of course, decrease that and move that up so you can see it a bit better. And you can vary, obviously, the angle there, and you can squeeze in there. And you can also, let's move that out of the way now, don't need that for now. And you can obviously change the number of instances. And now, of course, if you do things like this, you might find it just gets slower and slower. So there's going to be a limit. And also, of course, what you can do, you can double click. And you can go on that brush, and you can change brush. And every change you make will change that design. You've obviously got this design. But of course, what you could do, and you could, if you want, I'm just going to show you, you can quickly select another one. So you can quickly, you change the design in countless ways. I'm just going to go with that, of course. But also, of course, what you can do, you can go over here, because this does work with art brushes. Go there, and you can just resize it. So you can change that. And you can create maybe little petal designs like that if you want. Change that if you want to change that. Squeeze that a bit more so you get a very, very sharp end. And you can see you can create all kinds of different designs. Oops, got my art pad and mouse fighting against each other. It always does. And you can see you can vary the flower design in numerous ways. And once you've done that, you can come out of the radial repeat, and you've got your design, and you can still then tweak this design. And of course, you can always, if you want to, you can vary the brushstroke again and change that if you want. I think that's quite a useful feature. And of course, you've also got the object repeat and grid and mirror to work with if you want to use those as well. Or maybe create another radial on top of that to create a very complex, probably mess. But I always quite like doing radial of radial of radial. But sometimes the end result can be extreme. So you've got this design now. And of course, also another thing I never very point out, you can remove just by using that little control. Very rarely do that, but it's I think that's quite a nice little feature as well. So you can create all kinds of nice designs like that. And of course, what you can do if you want, always go to Object and you can expand the whole thing. Click OK, and you've got your design there like that, and so on and so on. So there's a whole load of designs you can use with this image brush feature in Illustrator. Well, I hope you found this tutorial of interest. Always adding new tutorials, obviously, about Illustrator, Photoshop, Affinity Photo, and many others. Also, please subscribe to the channel. Always adding new enough every day. And also, any comments? Anything I've done wrong? Anything you think, oh, you know what? It does work with this, or it does work. You didn't show X, Y, Z. You didn't show effects, or you didn't show this. Please let me know in the comments. Always appreciated. And also, a dislike or like. That's great as well. Thank you much.